Everybody's talking at me.
CRN Digital Talk Radio. Chuck Wilder here with Paul Stern up there near the Hollywood Hills at the network. And we're live across America on this radio station or cable system and around the world at crntalk.com and so many other ways to get us. Today's guest, Marita Noon, she's the author of Energy Freedom and executive director of Energy Makes America Great Incorporated. Looking at her latest commentary, The Geopolitics of Oil Go Round and Round. Ron Ewert, president of the National Association of Rural Landowners, author of Stare Deep into the Cosmos. Going to look at his latest. Government doesn't give you freedom, you take it. Hey, in the news, President Barack Obama says that every path Iran had to develop a nuclear weapon will be cut off after a tentative nuclear deal was reached. Thursday, the United States, Iran, 5 other world powers announced an understanding outlining limits on Iran's nuclear program so it cannot lead to atomic weapons, directing negotiators toward achieving a comprehensive agreement within 3 months. It's a good deal, a deal that makes our core objectives. This framework would cut off every pathway that Iran could take to develop a nuclear weapon. That's what Obama told reporters. Iran will face strict limitations on its program, and Iran has agreed to the most robust and intrusive inspections and transparency regime ever negotiated for any nuclear program in history. So this deal is not based on trust, it's based on verification. Obama stated that the deal is not based on trust. Unprecedented verification. If Iran cheats, the world will know it. If we see something suspicious, we will inspect it, Obama said, adding that Iran will face more inspections than any country in the world. And you know why I read it in that tone of voice. You ready? Just hours after the announcement of what Obama characterized as a historical agreement with Iran over its nuclear program, the country's leading negotiator lashed out at the Obama administration for lying about the details of the deal. Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif accused the Obama administration of misleading the American people and Congress in a fact sheet released following the culmination of the negotiations with the Islamic Republic. Zarif bragged in an earlier press conference with reporters that the United States had tentatively agreed to let it continue to enrichment of uranium, the key component of a nuclear bomb, as well as key nuclear research. He additionally said Iran would have all nuclear-related sanctions lifted once the final deal is signed, and that the country would not be forced to shut down any of its current operating nuclear installations. Following a subsequent press conference by Secretary of State John Kerry and release of an administrative fact sheet on Iranian concessions, Zarif lashed out on Twitter over what he dubbed lies. Wow, would this be the first time this administration has ever engaged in that? And then I'm reading Obama actually using the word, let me find this again, here it is. And Iran has agreed to the most robust and intrusive inspections and transparency regime ever negotiated. Do those words ring a bell? The most transparent administration ever. And there will be no more Freedom of Information Act. We're not going to give you the records of Fast and Furious. You're not going to get the emails from Lois Lerner. You're not going to get, oh boy. All right. Well, while President Obama and his aides hailed the nuclear deal struck with Iran as a diplomatic coup, the accord was silent on a major bilateral irritant between Washington and Tehran, the fate of the 3 American prisoners over there, right? Not one word. 3 journalists, Jason Rezan, who has written for the Washington Post and other publications, the Christian pastor Siad Abedin, and former U.S. Marine Amir Kamati. Yeah, no mention of that. Oh, no, we can't give you any. Yes, all right. The news goes on. Muslim immigration from dangerous nations is dramatically higher now in recent years, and government assurances that immigrants are being properly screened is a farce, according to the accomplished author and columnist Paul Sperry. It's a huge surge under Obama. In the last 3 years, he's averaged 100,000 new immigrants from Muslim nations a year. And he says this is very alarming. It's more than we're importing both from Central America, Mexico combined, and this is a big shift in immigration flows, said Sperry, who is the author of Infiltration, that is, how Muslim spies and subversives have penetrated Washington. It's really insane what we're doing. No one's really talking about this mass immigration from Muslim countries, and it poses a serious national security threat, said Sperry, who is also a Hoover Institution media fellow. The stated reason for the influx in recent years is the rise in refugees from war-torn nations like Syria and Iraq. The number of people accepted from Syria in particular baffles Sperry, who said there is a long-standing policy at keeping Syrians at bay. Syria has always been on our terrorist list, he says. We've had very strict restrictions on Syrian immigration. Since Syria has become a failed state, Obama increased the number of refugees. And by the time he leaves office, we will be importing over 10,000 Syrians into this country. And this is a concern because Iraq and Syria are now controlled by the Islamic State. Now, along those lines, according to the Refugee Processing Center and the State Department documents, they say that the most common spoken language among refugees in America is now Arabic. Out of 11,300 refugees admitted to the U.S. this fiscal year, 4,430 speak Arabic. Center for Immigration Studies noted the nation's legal and illegal immigration population hit a record 41.3 million in the summer of 2013. That's up 1.4 million since July 2010. Number of refugees and immigrants from the Middle East increased 13% between 2010 and 2013. And a recent Pew Research study revealed that Muslims are expected to outnumber Christians by the year 2070. And Breitbart News has already reported that refugees from both Africa and the Middle East were users of the most cash assistance, noting that 91.4% of refugees from the Middle East were on food stamps. You know, the other word for Supplemental Nutrition Assistant Program, SNAP. All right. Now then, the Department of Homeland Security is seeking bids from companies able to provide law enforcement officials with access to a national license plate tracking system. Now, this comes a year, by the way, after canceling a similar solicitation over private issues. The reversal comes after officials said they had determined they could address concerns raised by the civil liberty advocates and lawmakers about the prospect of the department gaining widespread access without warrants to a system that holds billions of records that are going to reveal you as a driver's whereabouts. Now, remember, it's a government, so you don't have to worry about, not getting warrants or having the billions of records on you and knowing where you are all the time. In a privacy impact assessment issued yesterday by the Department of Homeland Security, They say that it is not seeking to build a national database or contribute to the existing system. Instead, it's seeking bids from companies that already gathered the data to say how much they would charge to grant access to law enforcement officers at Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Officials said they also want to impose limits on ICE personnel's access to and use of this data. So they're going to promise you, okay, so don't you worry about it. The co-pilot of the doomed Germanwings flight repeatedly sped up the plane as he used the automatic pilot to descend the A320 into the Alps. According to the French Air Accident Investigation Agency, new word today, the chilling new detail from the BEA agency is based on an initial reading of the plane's black box data recorder that was found blackened and buried at the crash site yesterday. It strengthens investigators' initial suspicions that the co-pilot, Lubix, intentionally destroyed the plane, though prosecutors are still trying to figure out why. All 150 people aboard Flight 9525 killed in that March 24th crash. The BEA says the preliminary reading of the data recorder shows that the pilot used the automatic pilot to put the plane into a descent and then repeatedly during the descent adjusted the automatic pilot to speed up the plane. President Barack Obama's choice of Loretta Lynch to be the next U.S. Attorney General got a boost yesterday when Republican Senator Mark Kirk announced his support, possibly providing the crucial 51st vote for the embattled nominee. And you know she's embattled because of all this bank fraud hanky-panky, but hey, we need an Attorney General. Yes, right away. Let's get her in there. She is the only one qualified, believe me. Well, I'll tell you. Most Republicans are planning to vote against her to protest Obama's executive orders, on immigrations. And prior to yesterday, 4 Republicans indicated they would vote for Lynch's nomination with Kirk. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has put Lynch's nomination on hold, however, until the Senate passes a domestic human traffic bill. And that bill, that's being blocked by Democrats due to objections over an anti-abortion language that was in the bill. Come to find out after they passed the bill, well, I guess what they were doing the Nancy Pelosi playbook. They passed the bill without reading it, see, the Democrats. And then they found out there were some anti-abortion language in there about the government not paying for abortions or something like that. And they got upset. Why, we didn't know that was in the bill? Boy, wouldn't it be nice if every Congress critter was required to do their job and read the bills? Oh, that would, no. Going too far now. All right, we'll back off. We're going to take a break. Marita Noon, author of Energy Freedom, and Ron Ewart, next hour. He's president of the National Association of Rural Landowners.
I'm Jay Farner with some great news on how you could save an average of $3,000 per year on your mortgage. Call Quicken Loans now at 800-QUICKEN to see if you qualify for the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. The HARP guidelines have changed. There's less paperwork and often no appraisal required. Call 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN, or visit QuickenLoans.com.
Important terms and conditions apply. Call us for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
For over 20 years, you've trusted Lumber Liquidators to make high-quality, beautiful flooring affordable for everyone. Delivering this value means you get the floor you want at the low price you deserve. So we've lowered prices even more. This week, get stunning espresso, Hevea, 3/4-inch solid, pre-finished hardwood for just $2.99. Or natural strand bamboo for 41% less than our competitors. And 18-month special financing. You trust our value, we value your trust. For quality hardwood, see the flooring experts. Visit lumberliquidators.com to find a store near you.
Let me take just a moment or two, if I may, and talk about a great place to eat. That's right, for you folks anywhere in the eastern San Fernando Valley, drop into Bob's Big Boys. That's right, in Sun Valley at 8274 Sunland Boulevard. Now, everybody remembers the name Bob's. They're getting bigger and bigger every day. And little old Bob carrying the hamburger in his checkered overalls is the same Bob that you remember from back through the years. And, of course, if you want to go in for a great lunch, remember their classic burger, the original double-deck hamburger combination. Delicious 100% pure ground beef in 2 patties with American cheese, lettuce, and our famous Big Boy special sauce. The name is Bob, and I think when you go in, you'll say, by golly, I'm sure glad that I found this restaurant because it's good for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They've got all kinds of things, and all you have to do is remember. Bob's Big Boy in Sun Valley at 8274 Sunland Boulevard. It's a great place to eat.
Homeowners, now is the season to be thinking about your roof, because all it takes is one storm to turn a small roof problem into a major leak. If it's time for a new roof, call Sears at 888-465-9720. You can save $500 if you call right now. Sears licensed, fully insured contractors can get your roofing job done right. Just call 888-465-9720. Sears has a variety of shingles and styles that are built for long-lasting performance, and you'll save $500 if you call now. So call Sears for a free and home consultation at 888-465-9720. Hurry, offer ends soon. Not available in all areas. Installation provided by Sears authorized licensed contractors. License information available upon request. That's Sears Roofing. Call right now and save $500. Call 888-465-9720. 888-465-9720. Call Sears now and get that roof repaired. Call 888-465-9720.
Everybody's talking at me.
Chuck Wilder, CRN. And just before I go to my guest here, I think Paul Stern out there at the network reminded me that today is Doris Day's birthday, 91, born April 3rd, 1924. And of course, when I worked with George Putnam, I was reminded weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ahead of time, hey, don't forget, got to call Doris because it's her birthday, 1924. Boy, do you think back in 1924 they would ever think that a judge in San Francisco would rule that you had to give Michael Nordsworthy, you had to pay for his transsexual surgery because he's in prison, and it's violation of his or her constitutional rights. We've come a long way. Yes, I think it's all tied in with the price of oil. That's what it is. Let us now go to Marita Noon, author of Energy Freedom. She serves as Executive Director for Energy Makes America Great Incorporated and the companion educational organization, the Citizens Alliance for Responsible Energy. That's CARE, C-A-R-E. Also a columnist for RedState.com, Breitbart.com, regular contributor to the Energy Tribune, Conservative Action Alerts, and EPA Abuse. And Marita, how are you?
I'm doing well, Chuck. It's a treat to be with you on this Good Friday.
Well, my treat to have you, ma'am. And I got to tell you, your latest, the geopolitics of oil go round and round. You know, it's almost like diagramming, all right? When I was taking diagramming in public schools in southeastern New Mexico, I figured out where the adjectives went and maybe the noun, and that was about it. And I think the average person, Marita, when they say, well, gas is up, no, it's down, oh, it's up again, no, it's down, are they blocking the Suez Canal? Did they have a oil spill? You know what I'm saying? The average person wonders, Why? Why does it go up and down like that? And you're the lady, you're the expert, and you say there's many complicated factors. That doesn't come as a surprise.
Yes, there are many complicated factors, and I focus in my column this week, as you mentioned, the geopolitics of oil go round and round. I focus on two of those key factors that play into the price of oil, but I needed to mention the others lest people come back at me and say, oh, but wait, what about this? What about this? Mm-hmm. But the two key ones are risk and supply. And when there is a lot of risk involved, which means generally war in the Middle East, which means we may have less supply in the future, then the price goes up. But if we have an abundant supply, then the price goes down. And both of those are playing heavily into the current energy scenario.
All right. Now, minute or so here before the break. You say a few weeks ago, addressing the need to open up access to mid-Atlantic oil resources, and you get into that, and you even talk about how the market conditions are going to fluctuate between now and 2035. And I look at this, right? First off, excuse my ignorance, Marita, but I'm thinking mid-Atlantic oil resources. All right, the Mid-Atlantic must be located somewhere halfway between New York and Florida. That's what I would guess.
Yeah, and then that would be accurate.
Am I accurate?
Yes.
Ah, son of a gun. All right, but then how in the world do you look ahead at 2035 when I know for a fact, that if you have the Suez Canal blocked, or if you've got a war going on, or if Iran gets the nuclear bomb, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to predict all the way to 2035.
Well, that is true, and it's not that I can predict that far. That's what the Energy Information Agency, they predict. They have a chart, and there's a link to it in my column. But there's a chart that they show where the usage of petroleum is going to continue to go up and up and up until 2035, when they project that it will start going down. And, obviously, who knows? We can't predict the weather. We can't predict climate change. Who really knows? But that's their prediction.
All righty. Hold it right there. We're going to take a break. Come right back. Marita Noon, author of Energy Freedom. And I love this article because she'll say, goes on, and then, wait a minute, it gets more complicated. Then, hold on, there's more. It's like a continuing serial. That's what it is. It's Sons of Anarchy on paper, huh? Or for most of you, Empire. Well, whichever one you're into, you'll see what I mean when we return. Marita Noon, ResponsibleEnergy.org.
This is the Mike Huckabee Report for Friday. I'm Mike Huckabee. I'd like to wish you a blessed Good Friday and Happy Easter while I'm still allowed to. The story next. Looking forward to your tax refund? Well, so are identity thieves who steal refunds by filing fraudulent tax returns. Last year alone, they stole more than an estimated $5 billion from hard-working Americans just like you. Once an identity thief gets a hold of your tax forms, watch out. They know that virtually all the information they need to steal your identity and even your life savings is right there. Help protect yourself with LifeLock Ultimate Plus. LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides protection for your Social Security number, bank accounts, investments, even the equity in your home. And while no one can stop all identity theft and nobody can monitor every single business, LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides their most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If you're filing taxes this year, especially if you're filing online, do what I did and get LifeLock Ultimate Plus. Visit LifeLock.com/Huckabee now or call and use promo code Huckabee to save 10% on your LifeLock Ultimate Plus membership. Call 1-800-240-LOCK, 800-240-LOCK, 800-240-LOCK. My best-selling book, God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy, in the bookstores and available online. Get your copy today. Good Friday is the commemoration of the crucifixion of Jesus, and of course, Easter celebrates his resurrection. Jesus conveyed, love thy neighbor, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. But I can't help wondering why some people feel so threatened. But in some places, simply being a Christian can result in a death sentence. But wars over beliefs are not just in the Middle East. Throughout America's history, we've struggled to balance a diverse society with a respect for individual beliefs. Today, there seems to be a very loud and aggressive movement of those who demand absolute acceptance of their views, but show zero tolerance for other people's. If America is to survive, there's another lesson of Jesus we better take to heart, that a house divided against itself shall not stand. We need all the jobs we can get, and the new ADP employment report estimates that only 189,000 private sector jobs were created in the U.S. in March. As usual, the economic experts never saw it coming. They predicted 225,000 jobs. The 189,000 number was the lowest job growth in over a year. And for the first time in 14 months, the U.S. economy actually lost manufacturing jobs, down by 1,000 in March. Meanwhile, first quarter GDP growth was also anemic. Estimates range from 0.8 to 1.2%. Part of the blame for the sluggish economy was put on bad weather. Blaming the weather for the results of bad economic policy reminds me of William Buckley's famous observation that Russia exported grain for hundreds of years, then communism arrived, and they suffered 80 straight years of droughts. I'd like to invite you to join me for the members-only subscription service of the Huckabee Exclusive. You'll get a daily podcast of the Mike Huckabee Report, extra exclusive features delivered to your smartphone or computer, plus my video messages just for members, and a weekly recap of the news with insider perspective. For more information on how to join the Huckabee Exclusive, go to HuckabeeExclusive.com. And this is Easter weekend, and like Christmas, it's both a sacred religious holiday and a secular celebration that's grown bigger every year thanks to all the marketing. The National Retail Federation expects that total Easter spending in the U.S. this year will reach $16.4 billion. That includes $5.3 billion worth of meals and Easter brunches and $2.2 billion for chocolate bunnies and other candy. I assume the remaining $11 billion or so will be spent on Easter baskets, plastic grass, and Rolaids to take after a week of eating egg salad sandwiches. And this is the Mike Huckabee Report.
Everybody's talking at me.
CRN Chuck Wilder with my guest Marita Noon, author of Energy Freedom, executive director of Energy Makes America Great, and that is responsibleenergy.org. You can read her at redstate.com, breitbart.com, and discussing her latest posting, The Geopolitics of Oil Go Round and Round. And Marita says with the recent regional conflicts involving ISIS, however, prices have continued to drop due to OPEC's increased supplies, led by Saudi Arabia, in response to the new American energy abundance that changed the entire energy dynamic. However, here we go. That dynamic has just changed again as we go round and round, right? Explain this now.
Well, typically when we see unrest in the Middle East, we will see an uptick in the price of oil, sometimes dramatically, sometimes minimally, depending on the level of the conflict. But historically, with what's going on with ISIS in the Middle East, we should have seen a big bump, really, in the price of oil. However, we haven't seen it because Saudi Arabia has increased the oil that they're pumping, beginning in the middle to late last year, around September. Saudi Arabia increased the amount of oil that they were pumping and dumping into the world markets, which overcompensated for what was going on with ISIS. So we have not seen that big increase in oil, the price of oil, that we normally would have with Middle Eastern conflict. Instead, we've seen the price continue to drop to what was kind of becoming at least a new normal of around $50 a barrel for Brent crude. But then, as you say, the energy dynamic has just changed. And I want to go back for a minute, if I may, Chuck, to that mid-Atlantic idea, because what I wrote in that column a couple weeks ago about the accessing mid-Atlantic resources, I said that, a lot of people think that when we have this overabundance of oil right now, or this apparent overabundance of oil, that this is not the time to be looking for more. And a lot of people, the anti-Keystone Pipeline camp, for example, has kind of used that as, well, see, we don't need the Keystone Pipeline now because we've got so much oil, we don't need the Keystone Pipeline.
Hey, Marita, hold the presses. Are you ready for this? Because I know you get real busy. You want to hear what just came out? EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy made a statement in Washington that the Keystone XL pipeline would not be a disaster for the climate, shocking both sides. Isn't that interesting? I wonder why she's been holding back.
It is very interesting, especially coming from her, who is, a big supporter of the president's policies. So it is very interesting. I have not addressed this. I haven't written on this topic. I didn't see the news. But it's very interesting. Perhaps the president's union supporters got to him and said, you have got to approve this Keystone Pipeline, and somehow they manipulated her to come out and say something. And it's so out of character for her. I cannot believe that it's
she better be real careful there, Marita, because you see what happened to Mendez whenever he decided to go against the president. All of a sudden, wow, let's take him to court. Hey, let me ask you real quick here. I know there's a lot here on this, but
yes.
You mentioned in here that oil prices bounced higher, I guess it was last week, because Saudi Arabia launched airstrikes in Yemen. So then that could disrupt the supplies. Boy, it's just about everything, isn't it?
It is. I mean, and so that's what I'm talking about, this whole round and round idea that I have in the column, where round and round she goes, where she stops, nobody knows. That's what we're facing today with the price of oil and the whole situation in the Middle East, because we've got this whole new war erupting, which is Saudi Arabia and Yemen. And it's not just Saudi Arabia in Yemen. It's really a large part of the Middle East banding together against really Iran. And we've got a proxy war going on there. And so, but the interesting element to this then goes into so anyway, that bumped up the price of oil. But then the next day, an announcement came out that it looked like we had a deal with Iran.
Right. And it says in your article, Iran wants the sanctions lifted immediately, and if that happens, there will be an injection of hundreds of thousands of barrels a day, and the oil market already struggling with a crude overhang, which could depress prices further.
Exactly, and that's what we're looking at. So with this deal in Iran, I was speaking last week in Farmington, New Mexico, and I was speaking to an oil group, and I said to them, why should those of you in this room be specifically concerned about the potential nuclear deal with Iran? And I hate to say the bulk of them kind of looked at me blankly, like, what are you talking about? And then one of them finally said, because it means more oil on the market. And I said to the audience member, bingo, you've got it. That's what the problem is that if we lift the sanctions on Iran, they've got oil in storage, just waiting to be able to be sold. And the nuclear deal, will lift sanctions on Iran. So once last week word came out that it looks like we're getting close to a deal, the price of oil dropped again, because that means more oil on the market. So, there's a lot of additional interesting dynamics to consider.
Well, it's also interesting that one of their top negotiators in Iran said everything we heard today from the president is a lie about the inspections and shutting down this and shutting down that. If that's the case, mark it down, April 3rd, the first time President Obama ever lied.
Oh, you're funny, Chuck. You're very funny.
I know. Yes, I am. And you say with Iran calling the shots in Yemen, it not the friendly to the West president would control, what is that, the Mandeb Strait and the millions of barrels of crude oil?
I don't know how to pronounce it either. Your guess is as good as mine, to be honest with you. But it's a strait that is right at Yemen there. And realize this is important because Iran already has basic control. They don't have true control, but they have the ability to block the Strait of Hormuz, which would prevent the Strait of Hormuz is the biggest oil choke point, they call it, in the world.
Let me tell the listener real quick here. You're talking about biggest, okay? Now, the one here with the funny name, Bab el-Mabada, whatever, and that goes in, that's the strait to the Red Sea, all right? They have 3.8 million barrels of oil that go through there every day. But the Straits of Hormuz, 17 million barrels of oil a day,
it's hard to comprehend, isn't it?
Yeah, 30% of the world's trade oil flowing through it. My goodness.
And that's Saudi Arabia's oil that goes through that. So you see, you realize Saudi Arabia and Iran hate each other.
And you mentioned here on this Iranian trade here, you say if the sanctions are lifted by the Obama's administration's eagerness for a deal to potentially escalate the price of oil to $200 a barrel, which would not only change the geopolitics, but world economies as well. Boy, oh boy. There's so much going on, isn't there?
There is. Smarter people than me have predicted that $200 a barrel could totally collapse world economies, that the economies are not strong enough to withstand that. And the way they could do that is if Iran controls, or basically controls, the Strait of Hormuz, the big oil choke point. Realize it's only 21 miles wide, the Strait of Hormuz. And they have mines, underwater bombs that they can put in there. They can sink a ship there. There's a variety of ways that they can control traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Then the strait with a funny name that you nor I can say accurately is off of Yemen. So, and the other side of that strait is Somalia. Hardly, a bastion of democracy and civilized life. And so if they can easily, I believe this is why Iran has been fighting for Yemen. Yemen is not near Iran. Yemen is down at the base of Saudi Arabia. But if Iran controls Yemen, they can control that strait. They can then block the flow of oil through those two straits and drastically impact the availability of oil on a global scale, which, again, smarter people than me project could bump the price up to $200 a barrel of oil. Now, honestly, I don't think it'll go that high, but when you look at the dynamics of it, you can see that it's very, very possible that the price of oil would get bumped up. Now, for Iran, picture Iran. They've been struggling economically for years because of the sanctions the Western world has put on them. They have got millions of barrels of oil. We don't really know how much because they don't report to us. But they've got millions of barrels of oil sitting in storage in Iran just waiting to be sold. Now, would Iran like to sell those barrels of oil at a possible $30 a barrel, which is what people are talking about oil may go down to if Iran's oil floods the market? Or would Iran rather sell that same oil at $200 a barrel? I think they'd rather sell it at $200 a barrel, and they want to punish the United States, and they want to punish Saudi Arabia. So if they control those two straits, and they are able to shut down the flow of oil or impede the flow of oil through those two straits, we have the potential of seeing a huge bump in the price of oil, which would benefit Iran and their friends Russia, but really do irreparable damage to the Western economies.
You know, and when you mention their friend Russia, when you look up about the Straits of Hormuz, let me see here. Iran, Islamic regime, opposed to the United States' presence in the middle of Arab and Muslim territory. I'm going to get to it here in just a second. Large amounts of the oil that passes through Iran, who has acquired submarines from Russia, Chinese missile boats, anti-ship missiles, and the one you talked about, sea mines capable of blocking the straits. Therefore, the potential for conflict remains an area of concern for all parties involved. Boy, isn't it nice. Russia, China, and we're still giving them F-15s and F-16 fighter planes.
Yeah, the whole thing is a mess, and it's, at this point it's not the time or place to stop and say, oh, well, that's because of George Bush's policies, or it's because of Ronald Reagan or Jimmy Carter, or, who set up this whole thing. But this is what we're looking at right now. We are looking at a very, very precarious place in the history of the world, and oil is kind of at the center of the battle.
Well, as you say, round and round she goes, and where she stops, nobody knows. And I'd say the wheels on the bus go round and round unless they don't have any gasoline to run the buses.
It's a very interesting thing, and the majority of the people even people who pay attention to the news, which of course a lot of people don't, but even those who pay attention to the news, like your listeners, they wouldn't be your listeners if they weren't interested in these things. Most are not thinking at all about how this nuclear deal really impacts oil and really impacts the price of oil and like I said, Western economies overall.
And I'm trying to think of the letters, the IEAE or whatever it is that goes in. And
International Energy Agency.
Right. They have been denied access for every inspection they wanted to conduct in Iran.
The nuclear, yeah.
Yeah, so, nope, you're not coming in. And here Obama's saying, and we're going to have the most transparent over there. That's the words he used. It's going to be so transparent. We're going to know exactly what's going on. And yours truly here said, oh my God, he used the word transparent again, fast and furious. The emails, Lois Lerner, Hillary, Benghazi, transparent, and now he's cut out the Freedom of Information Act for the White House. I don't like the words he's using. This is kind of scary. Hey, we're coming up on a break here in a minute, Marita, and with the little time we have, I'm going to ask you if you want to discuss this, because I'm kind of lost on a little bit, but there was a smear campaign against you, all right? And what really I want to find out is it involves Solyndra and some other stuff here, and I'm thinking I'm reading where you were knocking I think it was Solyndra. I'll have to look it up here.
Solar City.
Yeah, that's going to make $6 billion profit. I think somebody's making up some figures here. Hey, I want to find out what all that's about when we come back. Marita Noon, Energy. All right. Marita Noon, author of Energy Freedom. And if you want to read this article, you can find it at responsibleenergy.org. And I think it was also at Red State. I'll find out when we come back. redstate.com, is it? I'm looking. I'll find it. Yes, I found it. Yep, redstate.com, breitbart.com, responsibleenergy.org.
You order a glass of your favorite Cabernet, fresh asparagus, hollandaise on the side, a filet, medium rare. You unfurl your napkin with a flair, close your eyes, and prepare to listen. Ah, there it is. The sweet music you long to hear. The sizzle. The sizzle of a Ruth's Chris steak.
The most magnificent corn-fed prime beef, broiled to perfection at 1800 degrees. Some call it a sizzle. We call it an anthem.
As the waiter approaches, you think, is this one mine or that one?
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like Ruth always said, life's too short to eat anywhere else.
Make a reservation online at ruthschris.com or by calling 800-544-0808.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Hi, here's your delivery from Staples.com.
Thanks, Staples guy. Ugh, do you have stuff to clean this disaster of a break room?
Sure, Staples has wipes, paper towels, sprays, sponges, all at a low price.
How about these floors?
Disinfecting cleaners, mops, bucket with side press ringers, and yellow wet floor signs.
Anyone know how long it takes to reheat cod?
We also have air fresheners.
I'll take a case of those.
Make on budget happen, make cleaning up happen. Staples, make more happen. Now at Staples, get Scott 12-pack paper towels for just $7.99.
Offer valid on SKU 300469 in store and online. It's 3/28 while supplies last. See store staples.com for details.
Hi, this is Bill Martinez. Join us every Monday through Friday from 9 to noon Eastern when we're covering the issues that matter most to you. From Obamacare, the latest from Russia, the Middle East, Israel, immigration, and more. We're talking with the policy and political experts so you can be better informed. It's Bill Martinez Live, brought to you in part by my friends at Good News Tax Relief. Let them help you get your peace of mind back by dealing with the IRS for you. Proven experience, proven results. Call 800-255-7500.
Everybody's talking at me.
My guest, Marita Noon. And real quick, Marita, the article we're discussing, Geopolitics of the Oil Go Round and Round, where's the best place the listener could read that?
Breitbart.com or redstate.com are the two primary places I would send people to, although it's found many other places as well.
Fantastic. So now apparently you ruffled some feathers because, I'm looking at the thing. I didn't realize the DOE program, 98% success rate, and Solyndra is going to give the taxpayers $6 billion. Explain this, and why did you ruffle the feathers?
Well, I guess I'm a rabble-rouser. What can I say? But I produced a white paper, which is available. People can download it and access it free on the not on the Energy Makes America Great website, but on my other organization, the Citizens Alliance for Responsible Energy website. And the paper is called Solar Power in the U.S., and it's factual, it's heavily documented, it's based on real data and news reports. It involves a lot of the research that I've done over the last few years in solar, but it also involves the work and research of other people. Well, the interesting thing is, Chuck, is that there is a really strong contingent out there that is pro-solar energy. Now, they're not necessarily big, but they're loud, kind of like what Mike Pence has been up against in Indiana. They're not necessarily big, but they are loud. And when this report that I wrote was released, this white paper, I have been attacked for it. There's been two major environmental green kind of websites that have attacked the piece. And then just yesterday in my local paper in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I had an op-ed published talking about Solar City, because Solar City announced they're coming to Albuquerque, and so I wrote.
I saw
an
that.
op-ed
Yeah,
about
I
it.
did. Mm-hmm.
And they wanted an employee from Solar City wrote an op-ed back that was published yesterday that claims that my organization, the Citizens Alliance for Responsible Energy, is not an alliance, that it's like a phony front group. So I sent out an email to the 5,000 people on my email list yesterday asking them to please go to the Albuquerque Journal website and add a comment saying, no, this is a real alliance, I'm a part of it, and I'm a citizen. And so that's kind of what it's evolved into.
All right, now we're running out of time, so I got to ask you this right here. This Solyndra 2010, and they're saying Noon mentions that the DOE program has a 98% success rate. Is that what they're saying?
That's what they're saying. They say that the DOE program has a 98% success rate.
Is there any government agency in America that has a 98% success rate?
That's a very good question, Chuck. Good way to put it to them.
Yeah, and then the fact, the government bought in $30 million loan guaranteed interest payments, and this is on Solyndra, and it's going to net a total of $6 billion for taxpayers? Boy, I bet you we don't see a nickel of that, you or I or anyone else. Well, maybe if you're in Washington, D.C. Marita, we're all out of time.
Those programs get complicated.
Oh, yeah, but 98% success. My goodness. They do believe that we are gullible, and I'll tell you. Hey, look forward to our next visit, and excellent job. I want the listeners to go to redstate.com, breitbart.com, responsibleenergy.org, and keep up with Marita Noon, Noon. Get a copy of her book, Energy Freedom. Thank you, ma'am.
Always a treat, Chuck. Happy Easter.
You too. Coming up next, Ron Ewert, president of the National Association of Rural Landowners. You heard that word, president. Oh, that's part of the story. And don't go away.
Because that was your theme. Are you tired of hearing your favorite talk radio show sound like this? What if you could hear your favorite shows in crystal clear, high-definition digital sound? Well, with CRN Digital Talk Radio's 6 channels of high-definition radio, you